Hey everyone, and welcome to the Stitch Sessions. Happy Christmas! It's Wednesday, December 25th, and I'm sure many of you have been celebrating the holidays with vigor and gusto. Right about now, you might be ready to sit down, put your feet up, and do a little bit of mindless crochet. So that's why we thought we'd come up with a really cool project for you this week. Notice anything different about me? Why, it's this reversible scrappy cap beanie. So if you've got a lot of scraps lying around, this is a fantastic project for you to work on at your leisure. Nothing too complicated. It's a great way to kind of come down from all the holiday festivities and just kind of do something easy and mindless on the few days off you may have. Now you are going to be amazed at just how easy this hat is to make. So on one side we've got one colorway, and then when you turn it inside out, you've got a completely different colorway. So as you can see, this is where I use the majority of my shorter scraps. I tried my best to kind of keep the colors kind of blending or transitioning nicely in there. So that's really cool. You get to use up a lot of your scraps. It's double thickness, so it's super warm. And you can make it for a gentleman, a lady, a child, anybody you wish. And super love the stitch. Also very easy. So if you are fairly new and you want to practice a little bit of your single crochets and double crochets, this is the hat for you. We used a stitch called the seed stitch, and it's simply just an alternating repeat of using the single crochet and then the double crochet. You're gonna just be floored if you've never seen this stitch, how easy it is and how it creates such a beautiful texture. So it's gonna be basically made, so you see that I just took it out. So it's basically, we're just making a tube, and then we're gonna cinch it in on each side, and then we're just going to get each cinched inside to meet up next to the other one. And that is how you can make a reversible cap. I know you're super excited to get this going. So enjoy your Christmas Day night, maybe it's afternoon. Grab a nice warm beverage or a cool beverage, put your feet up, and you will enjoy getting started on this scrappy cap beanie. So we've got a couple more fun little videos just before the end of the year so that you can catch up on some stuff, know what's going on, and maybe pick up a few little techniques here. But in the meantime, guys, let's get all of our materials together and let's get stitching up our beautiful, fabulous, reversible scrappy cap. Okay, so let's dive into our scrappy cap. This is going to be such a relaxing project to do, especially for those of you that are doing this on Christmas Day night. You've had tons of food to eat. You've had tons of family. Now you just want a little bit of me time, a little bit of crochet time. And this is super simple to do, and you can use up all of your scraps. So excited. Okay, so for this project, you're going to grab together all of the scraps that you would like to use. In my case, I kind of managed to find them fairly color friendly, we'll call it, but you can do it in any color way you like. So these are leftovers from other projects I've had. So I just thought I would start from darkest to lightest in this green, teal, purpley, and green mode. And I also have some of this lilac yarn and some of this kind of gray beige yarn left over. And because our cap is going to be reversible, I think that these two sets of colors are going to work just great. But the beauty of this project is any color combination will do, because after all, the cap is reversible. So I would say approximately 100 grams would suffice to create this hat. Depending on the size of the head, of course. So let's say 100 to 150 grams. You're also going to need, of course, a pair of scissors, a darning needle at the end for sewing in your ends. And for this project, the hook that I'm using is a 5.5 millimeter hook, also known as an eye or a size 9. And I'm using this hook because all of these bits of yarn are a medium 4-weight yarn. So this hook size, a lot of times anywhere between a 5 to a 6 they'll recommend. So I'm using a 5.5, just somewhere nice and in between there. So let's get cooking. Once you've secured a slip knot, we want to start with chain stitches. So you're just going to yarn over and pull through and try to keep them fairly relaxed. We are going to do however many number of chains you need to fit the circumference of the head you're working on. So I am going to go ahead and do 21 inches worth of chains. The main thing to keep in mind for this particular pattern is to just make sure you have an even number of chains for your length. So whatever number you need should be able to be divisible by 2. So go ahead and chain up the number of chains you need to hit your 21 inches in my case, and I'll meet back up with you when you have your length. Okay, so I have taken out a few of my chains here. I have 70 chains, and I took some out because 80 had given me my 21 inches, but as you can see, there's a lot of give here. And even at 21 inches of chains, which is 80 chains, I wrapped it around my head, which is an average 22-inch head, and it still had so much room. So I've actually taken out a few chains. I actually have 70 chains, which when I measure it out, only measures 18 inches. But there is so much stretch here that this still fits around my head with a little bit of room. So I always say, err on the side of being a little bit more snug. Over the course of time, your fibers are going to loosen up. So I made this boo-boo a couple years ago when I made a hat for my brother, and I measured it perfectly great, but after a couple of washes and wears, he had to fold the brim up about 4 times because he said it was just so loose on him. So always make them a little bit more snug. So I have 70 stitches, which gives me 18 inches, okay, and that will stretch. Once you have your even number of chains, we're going to begin our seed stitch pattern. And this is another fantastic stitch if you are still fairly new to crochet and you're going to be practicing your single crochets and your double crochets. Now, if you're working on this in a scarf, you would actually chain 1 more, but because we're going to be working in a tube, we're just keeping the even number of stitches. So here's what we want to do. You just want to go back to the beginning, make sure that your work is not twisted. And you just want to go back to the very first chain that you stitched. Now be careful because this right here is the slip knot, okay? So we want to go into the first chain stitch, which is right there. And all you want to do there is you just want to place a slip stitch. And this is what's going to connect your work into a circle, and much later on you'll see it'll turn into a tube. So you've got something that looks like this, okay? And just double check that it's not twisted. You don't want your hat to look wonky. There we go. Okay, so from here on out, we're going to be working in the round. So to begin our seed stitch, we are going to chain 1. And then we're going to do a single crochet right back into that same stitch that we slip stitched into. So you just want to insert your hook and pull through and do a single crochet. Okay. Into the next stitch, we want to do a double crochet. So you're going to yarn over, find the next stitch, yarn over to pull through. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through the last 2. Okay, so you can see that they're definitely different in height. This is what you're going to do all the way around. That's why I said this is a great project to practice your stitches. The very next stitch, you're going to do a single crochet. So a single is just you insert right away to pull through, and you pull through. Into the next stitch, you're going to do a double crochet. So we need to yarn over first, insert to pull through, yarn over, pull through the first two, yarn over, pull through the second two. So you're basically alternating single, double, single, double, single, double. Okay, I'm going to do that one more time. Into the next stitch, I'm going to do a single crochet. Into the stitch after that, I'm going to do a double crochet. And that is what you're going to do all the way around till you come back to the beginning. So go ahead and do that, one single and one double, and I'll meet you at the very end of your first round. Well, I'm back. Okay, so first of all, you're going to notice that your work will look something like this, and you're thinking it's really bumpy, uneven. It is supposed to be that way, okay? That's what gives this stitch a lot of wonderful texture. But the other thing you're going to notice is that I've already run out of my first color. So I wanted to just come back on and talk about joining your colors together. And we do have a quick little tutorial on how to do something called the magic join. So I'll leave a link up here in the cards and one down below as well if you just want to dive deeper into it. But I'm going to just do a quick little join now. So I'm going to go on to my next color, which is this next gradient of green here. And so what you want to do is you want to tie the first color, and you want to make a knot. And I had already done one knot there, but we're just going to sit. Okay, so I've tied it on there. Now, if I just did it like that, see what happens? It just comes out. So that's why that knot's there. So what we're going to do is we're going to do what we just did. So you will start off by tying the first color onto the second color. But now in order to really secure it here, we're going to take our second color and do the same thing and attach that, tie that knot onto the first color. Just like that. So what happens is, see, it's got a loop happening here. Now I realize these two colors are very similar. So again, if it's easier, just check out that link down below just to give yourself a little bit more of a clearer picture of the magic join. But once I have this loop here, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my two ends and I'm going to pull them tightly together. And believe it or not, something to do with science, I guess, once those two knots meet each other, they are in, super solid, they're not going anywhere. And at this point now, you can take your scissors and you can snip this super close to that knot. Sorry guys, it's a bit dark. Just like that. And it will not come undone. Trust me, I've tried it a million times to see if it would come undone, and it does not. So I just go as close as I can to that knot, and there you have it. Okay, it's going nowhere. And now I can just continue on as I was with stitching up my hat. Okay, so I'm still going to do one single and then one double into each stitch all the way around. And at the end of round one, I should still have my 70 stitches. Okay, so as you can see, I've already attached another color again. I'm so excited. You guys don't know how excited I am to get through all of my scrap yarn. And to work on a project that is going to be so relaxing. You can just watch your favorite Netflix show, put your feet up in your brand new crochet slippers from last week, of course, if you made them for yourself, of course. And yeah, just stitch this up. It's just such a relaxing way to spend a nice Christmas holiday afternoon. So I have come up to the end of my first round, and I made sure that I still have my 70 stitches. So all I want to do here is I've ended with a double crochet. So my first stitch here is going to be the single crochet. So what I want to do is I just want to insert my hook into the top of that first single crochet, and I just want to slip stitch to join. Okay, just like that. So now you've got this really cool, and you can see how the first color is going in nicely with the second color. Okay, so now you have like basically a ring that you're going to be working into. So now we're just going to keep working it up until it becomes one long tube. Okay, the other thing that's a little bit different about this project is we're going to work it as if it's a flat project. So here's what I mean about that. So we have slip stitch to join, and as we go on to round 2, this is how you're going to do all of the rounds from here on out. You will chain 1, and now you're actually going to turn your work. See, usually in the round, we don't bother turning our work. We just keep working around and around. But because of the really wonderful texture that this stitch offers by turning your work, that's why we're going to keep that technique consistent in this hat. So you'll turn your work, and then you'll be working basically now into the back of the double crochet we just did, because remember we ended off with a double crochet. So every time you start a new round, you will always begin with a single crochet. So you're just going to go right into the top of that stitch, and you are going to do a single crochet. And because we have an even number of stitches, you'll always finish with a double crochet, and you'll always begin with a single crochet. And they should always stack up nicely one on top of each other, okay? So now into the next stitch, which was actually a single crochet, we're going to do a double crochet. So the pattern will continue on as usual, one single, one double. The difference is that now we're nestling a single on top of a double, okay? And then we're going to do a double on top of a single. And in fact, if you've counted it correctly from the beginning, you never even have to think about this ever again, other than just make sure you alternate one single, one double. And guess what? Let's say you made a boo-boo and you're doing a double on top of a double, a single on top of a single. It's not the end of the world, right? Like you're just going to have a slightly different texture. It actually might come out even more interesting. So my motto is don't panic. It's all art. And even the little mistakes and boo-boos are what make it interesting. The main thing is it was made with love and care and excitement, and that's part of what makes your project so special. So this is what you're going to do all the way around for every round. But I'm just going to meet back up with you again one more time at the end of this round just to make sure you're okay and to take you through joining and turning your work again, okay? So I will see you at the end of round 2, and for me, I will still have 70 stitches. Okay, so I'm coming up to the end of round 2. Got a single crochet, and I'm going to finish with a double crochet. So you're always going to finish with a double crochet stitch, okay? And now what I want to do is I just want to slip stitch. Remember that was the single crochet. I'm just going to slip stitch to join the round, okay? So your work is looking something like that. So all of your colors should be kind of coming together. And now we are going to, so technically when we had turned our work, we're working on the inside, but I mean, it won't really matter at the end because it's going to be reversible. So now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1, and turn our work again. So then technically we would be working on the outside of the cap. So the tube that we're going to create is you're going to do the length that you need. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. So basically in a way you kind of do, but both sides will look the same, right? Eventually, one side of the tube will always remain on the inside once I show you how it's going to become reversible. So round 3, I chained 1, and now I'm going to start with a single crochet. So see, that was the double we just finished the round previous with. So I'm just going to insert. I always chain 1. I insert into the top of the previous stitch, and I single crochet. Okay. The next stitch, which is a single from the previous, is going to be a double crochet. So this is all you are going to do. No thinking. Now I'm going to do a single. You can just relax, let your mind wander. Maybe you're going to listen to some music instead of watching Netflix. Whatever you choose to do, you will get rid of all of your scrap yarn and you will make something really, really cool. Okay. So this is pretty much it. One single, one double, one single, one double. Okay, so now the goal is, let's just see here. So now the goal is, as you can see, that our work is starting to build upwards. Okay, so it's eventually just going to become one long tube. Now, you want to create a height that's definitely going to fit from the, I always say around the eyebrow area, all the way to the top or the crown of the head. So whatever that measurement is, usually on average, anywhere between, 18 up to 22 inches. So I'm going to do, 18 to 22 inches is double the length. So anywhere between 10 and 12 inches. So we want our tube to be anywhere between 20 to up to 24 inches. You can definitely make it longer, like 28 inches if you want it to be like a super slouchy reversible cap. Completely up to you. You want to make sure that at least does cover the head. So I would say a minimum of 20 inches. I'm going to make mine 24 inches. So that's going to give me 12 inches from eyebrow area to the crown of the head with lots of give. Okay, so I'm going to work my tube up until I have a length all the way up until 24 inches. Okay, and that is it. The rest is just relaxation time and just practicing your stitches, practicing your single crochets, your double crochets, and remember at the very end you always slip stitch to join. You will chain 1 and always turn your work. So you're always turning your work back and forth, and as you can see, it's just creating this really beautiful kind of chunky like texture. It's got this kind of ridgy ribby effect, and I just love it, especially as all the colors. See, now I've got a third color in there. You can really see how it's going to be super cool. All right, guys, I guess I will see you back here in a bit, maybe in a few days, depending on how long you're going to be working on this, how quickly you work through it. This is a great, great holiday relaxation project. So I'm going to keep moving along on mine, and I'll see you in a bit. Okay, so here is my long tube that I've done here. So all of my little scraps that I had here, I just started kind of putting them all together. I just want to get rid of them. So you can see I started with the kind of a light green, dark green, purple, browns, oranges, had a bit of some other green I didn't realize I had left, and then the lilacs, pinks, light grays, dark grays, and then white and gray. And so I've got a lot of this gray left. So, which will make it really cool because I can wear it with just the gray tones on one side. And on the other side, I can have this cool, crazy, multicolored situation. So I actually have stopped at 20 inches. I know I said I was going to go up to 24, but because this is a medium 4-weight yarn and we're doubling it in thickness, it's going to be pretty substantial. So I have stopped at 20 inches. It does cover the top of the head. So now what we're going to do is we're going to snip off our yarn and we are going to sew in each of the ends. And I know you're thinking, huh? What do you mean you're going to sew up both ends? That's exactly what we're going to do. So I finished with my gray here, and before I snip off my yarn, I want to leave a very long tail so that I can use it to sew in this end, okay? And actually, so the way this is turned out, this is what I am calling my right side. So my right side is facing out, and that's exactly how I want it to be when I cinch up the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my yarn, before I snip it off, I'm just going to kind of measure a length here. Let's say about 3 times the length of the 1/2 of the opening. And it's just better to have a long tail so that you don't run out as opposed to running out. So now that I've done that, I'm just going to shorten that down here. I am now just going to pull that through and fasten it off completely. Oops. And now I've secured that in very nicely there. Okay, so here comes the next part, which is super easy. We are going to thread our yarn through our yarn needle. Okay. And we're now going to proceed to just weave in, and I know you've seen me do this technique before on other projects, but this is exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to take our needle and we're going to weave in and out of the stitches here. You can go through the stitch or around the post here. And that's all you're going to do all the way around until you come back to the beginning. And so as you can see already, the idea is we want to cinch it together. So every few stitches, I pull it through and I already start bunching it up. You don't want to leave it completely to the end because there is so much material here. It's going to create a lot of friction with the yarn. So that is simply it. I'm going in, then out, in, then out. And I'm doing that all the way around. So go ahead and do that. And I'm going to meet you, see, and I just kind of lightly cinch it as I go. I'm going to meet you back up here once you've come back to the beginning. And we'll chit-chat some more. Okay, so I've come up to the end and I've cinched it as much as I could. So you'll notice that it's not going to cinch completely shut because there's just simply too much material here. So that is why you need the extra length, because now we're just going to sew it shut. So I'm just going to put my hand in here as much as I can. And I now will just take, I'm just going to pick up a little bit of yarn here on this side, just through a couple of loops. And I just want to go straight away across the way here and just pick up a couple loops there. And so it's going to cinch that shut, and I might go back in the same spot. And so that's cinched there. And now I'm going to go maybe to this side corner here and pick up 2 loops here, and then maybe go directly across on this side and find a couple loops there and pull it through. Okay, so now, hopefully you can see that if it focuses. So now we're really getting a much tighter closed in look. So see how it's loosening there? That's why I like to go in a couple of times in each spot. Whoops. And go back. It's not going to be an exact science, but you're going to go back roughly where it was in before and cinch it. So now it's more likely to stay. And then I'm just going to see, so the most of it is cinched shut already, which is super cool. So now I just might go back and forth a few times. Maybe I'm going to come back to this corner here and just go straight across the way there, picking up some loops on, as I go, and just cinching it shut. And that's it. So look at how cool that is. So this is, I'm going to do a few more just to secure it, but I just wanted you guys to see this would now be the top of your hat, or one of the tops of your hat. So you're going to continue doing this. I'm going to just crisscross a few more stitches. I'm going to then snip my yarn off, and I'm going to just kind of hide the, I'm going to weave in any tail. If there's a tail, I'm just going to weave it in. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to this side, and I'm going to get another piece of yarn, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. And just with this, I'm going to show you. I'm going to get another piece of yarn. I'll probably tie a knot, but I'm going to do the same thing here. Now this was the first chain, the foundation chain. So I'm just going to kind of go in and out and in and out. Okay, the technique is exactly the same. We're going to cinch it shut just like we did this end. And you're thinking, that is weird. So now we've got two ends that are closed. And the reason why we're doing that is because one of these ends, well, they're both closed. And then at one point, we're going to stick one end inside the other, and that will create our cap. Starting to get the picture now? So what we're going to do, I'm going to finish this off. I'm going to let you cinch up the other end, and then I'm going to come back and actually show you how you're going to have two different caps in one. Okay, guys, and here we are, the moment of truth. Except I just wanted to show you, when you're doing this second one, be very careful, before I show you this, be very careful that when you're putting your darning needle through, that you don't accidentally catch one of these loops down here as you're cinching it in. I did exactly that. Had to snip off my yarn and kind of re-sew it in. So just be wary of that. Now I've got a couple of these little strands left over here. So what I'm going to do is I just got a smaller hook, and I'm just going to kind of feed it under and then just kind of come up somewhere close to where it is. And then I'm just going to feed it through and then pull it down so that it just gets lost inside the hat, just like that. And I just have this other little piece here, and that's just a bobble there. And I'm going to do the exact same thing, just kind of find a little entranceway somewhere close by, and then I just hook it and sneak it under. And then I just pull my hook out, and there I have it. So if you are still wondering, what the heck, how is this a hat? Hopefully most of you already kind of figured out what we're going to do. So both ends are technically the top of the hat. What you want to do now is you just want to take one end. So I'm going to take this extra multicolored end, and I'm just going to push it through until it hits the end of the other one. So once I see that it sits nice and flat there, that's it. Ta-da! Check it out. So when I have it facing this way, this is going to be a little bit more the neutral tone side. And what is super awesome about this is that that second layer just makes it extra warm and extra cozy, especially for some of our super bitter Canadian winters. So this is that side. And then if you're kind of wanting to be a little bit different, bring out your colors. Now you just reverse it. And now the neutrals are on the inside and the multicolors are on the outside. Don't you think that's great? I think that that is super, super awesome. And that is how you can have 2 caps in one. And like I used just scrap yarn to do this. But if you actually wanted to purposely make 2 different design caps, you can actually choose your colors. Like for example, on this one, I actually had a lot left over of this gray and this white. So in the end, I really like how this one came out. So you might want to plan to do one side in a specific design color and then the other in another. And you can totally do that too. But all in all, this is our reversible scrappy cap. It's a fantastic way to use up all those leftover bits of yarn. It's super warm, it's super functional, and I just love how it came out. And the seed stitch texture is fabulous. I can't say enough about this hat. Other than, I hope you have had a wonderful, beautiful holiday season. Hopefully this has kind of kept you busy during the downtime and given you something fun to do. And I hope you are looking forward to more of our fun tutorials and cool new projects coming up for 2020. So make sure, if you haven't already, press that subscribe button so you don't miss any episodes. We upload religiously every Wednesday, just like this one. Even though it fell on Christmas, we uploaded on Christmas Day. So we hope you have a very Merry Christmas. And if you've got some more time in your hands and want to check out some more of our winter crochet playlist, just check out some of the links there or down below, and or some of our Christmas crochet playlists. So remember guys, have a great day, Merry Christmas, happy crocheting, and take care.